This episode is brought to you by Flex Dealer.
Hospitality is something that you can't take a picture of. Hospitality is how you make somebody feel. And if we want to change what people are going to do, we have to change how they feel about it first. And we already know how most people feel about buying a car and the process for buying a car. So if we're going to say the same things that they've been hearing, they're going to feel the same feelings that they've been feeling.
All right, here we go. Back for the second round. My good friend Anthony Alagona is the founder of Appointments That Show. His mantra is filling white space. He is a BDC master. Dare I say Jedi? I don't know what words I'm trying to use other than this guy knows how to get people to show up to dealerships. His business is blowing up. He's got an event we're going to talk about later on. Stay tuned. Anthony, my man, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook.
Are you kidding me? It's my absolute pleasure, Michael. Thank you to have me back again. Big fan of you, my friend. Big fan.
Oh, stop. It's us bald folk have to stick together today. Here's a testament, though, by the way. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of today, which stick around because Anthony's going to share 3 things you could be doing today to start filling more white space, increase your profitability from Appointments That Show. But just before that, I got to say, maybe it's like a testament to how consistent and persistent you are. You don't even know this, but you knew me back when I was Star Wars reference again. Mm-hmm. A little more Jabba the Hutt, a little less John Cena, a little bit more Jabba the Hutt. You don't realize that your consistency in posting your 5-mile run and your push-ups on the beach and, seeing you get the bulging biceps and the this and the that and posting pictures of the house on the beach in Jersey that you're like, I'm going to buy that house one day. You probably have no clue the impact that just that little seed.
I hope so.
That's like, hey, I could be healthy too. Hey, I could maybe do a 5-mile run one day. Hey, maybe I could do more than one push-up. Like that is a testament to your persistence and why I think you blow up as somebody that trains and coaches and builds BDCs for people.
I appreciate that. I mean, just hearing that alone motivates me to go out and do it some more because honestly, I do it not only for everybody else out there, but I do it for days that I don't really necessarily have it for myself. And I go back to look at these things to remind myself that it does take the hard work. It does take persistence and being consistent and doing things when you don't want to do them. And to hear the feedback from you, I mean, means a ton to me. And it inspires me to keep doing it because, your message, even though you want it to reach a lot of people, you're not sure if it is. And once in a while you get a message from somebody saying, hey, thank you for doing what you're doing. That smile every day post really helped me. And I'm glad to hear it motivated you because it motivates me to do it some more.
Bro, what's shocking to me still to this day is the fact that I'm sitting this close to my camera, but I'm not taking up the whole screen anymore.
Dude, you're in incredible shape, bro.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. They're a work in progress. But you said you and I were having a conversation the other day, and I asked you a question about it. People probably wonder, by the way, because I say everybody's my friend, which I genuinely think, but good friend, that's a reserve for the people that know more about me personally.
I get it.
You and I were chatting along the lines of, your fitness and why it's important to you. And we were just chatting about some, experiences we had in the past. And I asked you a personal question and you said, at first I did it because at that point years ago, when things weren't going your way, it was something you had 100% control over.
100%.
Has that always been your mindset or?
Yes. I'm going through it right now, actually. When I doing that, you throw conferences, it's not something that's easy to do. And especially when you've never done a conference. And when I did the first one, I gave myself the same challenge and I'm doing it right now. I'm in the middle of a 75 hard challenge. I'm on day 63. And the reason I do that is because there's so many things in the world to stress about, being a parent, being a business owner, making sure that you're making payroll, making sure that you're making money, making sure that you're being a good father. And there's a lot of stress and, sometimes you don't get to stop and think about it. And when you do stop and think about it, it can overwhelm you. So years ago when I wasn't having so much luck, I did that physical fitness challenge because I said, Anthony, if you can just hold yourself accountable to things that you can control, your mindset, your attitude, and your actions, if you do those three things, you're going to get results, and it's going to come over time. And I listened to a lot of Jim Rohn, and things don't happen overnight; they come over time. Success isn't this big event that happens out of nowhere, and either is failure. It's all those little things along the way. And right now, I really want to have an 8-pack by the time my conference comes up, right? And I just want to have it just because I want to have it. It's because it takes hard work and discipline. And right now I'm stressing more about my workouts and drinking my water and making sure I'm doing all these other things than making sure I'm getting my sponsors, making sure I'm getting these tickets sold, because the conference becomes very easy.
Yeah.
Running my business becomes very easy when I'm stressing the working out part instead. Because when you're focusing on the solution, you have no time or anxiety for the problem. So that's the reason I really did it, is to hold myself accountable to something, because I know if I hold myself accountable and I can control my actions, you're going to get results. It just takes time, and you have to be patient.
Ooh, and this kind of ties into where we're going to go with the subject matter in just a minute. But this idea of like, we live in a world where people are more focused on what they dislike about somebody else's actions, or they're always trying to find a scapegoat, that they're unable to focus and dial in and become accountable to the actions they could have been taking all along.
100%.
We see this in dealerships all the time. It's like, well, but Susie's the one that blah, blah, blah. Like, we're trying to we have this like pass the buck culture.
100%.
But to your point, one of the things that I love, and I now understand it. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy that talked about health and wellness, because the majority of my adult life I was obese by medical standards.
Of course.
But it's this concept of being honest with yourself, getting a true reading on the current state of affairs for yourself, so that you can start making changes for you before you even worry about anything anybody else is doing.
Absolutely. And it spills out into every direction of your life when you're health conscious and you're working out. And I work out right now I'm working out every day, and I'm running every day, 4.2 miles. I put over 270 miles on my legs in the past 60 days. Right. And every day I go, and sometimes I dread it, but when I'm done with the run, I'm full of energy. I'm full of inspiration. I'm motivated again. And it just spills out. I'm a happier person. I'm more optimistic. I am more willing to go above and beyond. I'm not tired as much. And I notice when I stop doing these things, when I stop exercising, or I stop making those posts to try to inspire people, I'm not living my purpose. And then I can feel myself start to dim, and I'm a very high energy person. So I could feel my fire start to go down a little bit. And I do these things like what I'm doing now to get my flame going again.
Dang. Can I just one more side note, and then we're going to get into BDC. What the heck do you eat during a day?
So I wake up, I have usually about 2 or 3 hard-boiled eggs when I first wake up. I have I'm down to 1 cup of coffee right now.
I'm building a live meal plan.
I used to drink that Celsius, that energy drink, but I watched a video on how bad it was, and I cut that out. So I'm not drinking any
no way.
type of energy drinks. I've been energy drink free for like 3 months now.
Me too.
And I thought it was healthiest because of all the things I said, but I looked it up and I'm like, this isn't so healthy.
Dang.
I'm eating a lot of protein. I'm cutting down on my carbs right now because I was a skinny guy that had a gut. So to get that 8-pack, everybody has abs. You just got to, trim away the fat and then build up the muscle. And, I'm very close to getting there. It's one of the hardest things to get. Like, I can get the 4, the 5, and almost a 6. To get the 8 is really hard. And the reason I'm getting 8 is because there's certain people out there that believe, you gotta be a good BD. You gotta have an 8-pack to be a BDC trainer. So I kind of want to have an 8-pack.
Their name shall not be mentioned. They must pay to sponsor
right?
for mentions.
I'm trying to have me some abs too. So, yeah.
Now, those of you listening or watching, you might be like, Cirillo, get to the BDC already.
We got you.
If you were really paying attention, my beloved DPB gang, you would realize that we've been talking about the BDC this entire time. Why, you ask? Because you're learning firsthand what I believe, and I think, Anthony, you believe this, the level of discipline it actually will take for you to succeed in the BDC.
It's hard. It really is. And I've, had a bright idea to start an offsite BDC company. And when COVID happened, and when I first opened it, I made a deal with, a handful of my dealers. I said, give me some money, give me your leads for 3 months. And if we can make this work, we're going to make this work. And if it doesn't, we're going to depart as good friends. And we'll do business like we usually did. And sure. I really wanted to understand the other side of the business and find out what their pain points were. And when I just had this conversation today, it's like when I first started doing it, I was getting results. I trained some of my people up. We were getting results, and I was still flying around training dealerships inside their dealership. And I had one of my close clients reach out to me, and I was on the road one time and said, Anthony, I love you, but I don't get the same results when you're on the road. And that, it was like a shot to my rib, right? It's like, I felt like I broke a rib because I couldn't breathe. I was like, I spent my whole time to build up my reputation to let it fall apart because I'm going to travel. I cleared my calendar the rest of the year that day. I said, I'm not going back to the road no more. I can't, because I realized that, and what I really truly realized now, and why I'm doing what I'm doing, is that as a BDC manager, and I manage multiple rooftops, you can't just manage your people. You actually have to be in there setting appointments with them, leading them. They need to hear you talk. They need to hear you handle subprime customers. They need to hear you handle bankruptcies. They need to hear you handle, inventory that's not there yet. They need to hear you handle, people coming with price, or why they need their number for their trade, and how you can convince them that it's not in their best interest to get a number over the phone, right?
Yeah.
And once I did that, I started getting tremendous results. And the name of my company is called Appointments That Show, and it's because the average show rate out there is under 50% for dealerships when they set an appointment. I didn't name my company Appointments That Show half the time on purpose, right? And I need to provide more value. I usually guarantee my clients a 65% show rate, and the only way I can do that is to be consistent with what I do and to make sure that I'm painting the picture over the phone, and my team is painting the picture over the phone, why we are the very best people to be dealing with when it comes to buying a car, because we're here to streamline the process and make it easy for you. And once I really focused on that, all my show rates climbed up. Matter of fact, my top girl last month, one of my really close friends sublets one of my offices here. His mom has been working for me for the past 2.5 years. Her name is Cindy Gato. Matter of fact, my mom's name is Cindy. She reminds me of my mother a lot. She's an awesome worker. She works 25 to 30 hours a week. One of the accounts that she was in last month, she set 46 appointments, and she had 44 shows and 13 solds. And she yesterday, I go, did you guys go through your no-shows? And she says, yeah, Anthony, I went through all 2 of them. and when I have that, that's what reminds me is, when people say, Anthony, you're a little expensive. I said, yeah, well, I get a little bit more than most other, places. And I feel like I do. And, I may not be the best fit for you. So, it's really important that you be disciplined in this arena, because it's more important what you do every day than what you do once in a while.
Hey, does your marketing agency suck? Listen, before we hop back into this episode, I know you know me as the host of the Dealer Playbook, but did you also know that I'm the CEO of Flex Dealer, an agency that's helping dealers capture better quality leads from local SEO and hyper-targeted ads that convert? So if you want to sell more cars and finally have a partner that's in it with you that doesn't suck, visit flexdealer.com. Let's hop back into this episode. You said a couple of things here. So there's your tie-in for those that are paying attention. There's the tie-in to the discipline. It's how we should be thinking about pretty much every facet of our life, whether it's professionalism, family, spirituality, whatever it might be. Discipline is a principle that carries across all of the pillars that matter in our life. And I often think about, let's use leadership as an example. How can I suppose to be a good leader at work if I haven't learned to be a good leader at home?
True story.
Or if I've learned to be a good leader at work, how come I'm not a good leader at home? Mm-hmm. Or in my church, or discipline tie in again. Mm-hmm. How come I'm not a good leader of myself? Mm-hmm. People are so worried out there about, but it's my leader and top-down leadership. Yeah, okay, but what does that have to do with you leading yourself? So I heard, the discipline comes through strong for me. You also said something early on, which is, as you were starting up your company, which was getting a more intimate understanding of the operation of a dealership so that you could do your job better. I can't help but think that this is a huge takeaway for those that are working in this position. How intricate is your understanding of the operation you are working at right now to be able to better provide an experience? I'm going to call it the guest experience, because I think I like what the word guest implies over customer, being one of the first touch points that they have with the business.
100%.
And so I heard you say that for me is a huge takeaway. So a dealership reaches out to you, says, hey, we think we need some help. You look into their ecosystem, you look into their CRM, you look into current processes. What is the first kind of common challenge you see across the board that it's like, if you just fixed that, you would see some improvement?
First thing I look at is the communication between the BDC, the sales floor, and the management team on how well they interact with each other. Because going into dealerships and training dealerships for such a long period of time, I had to get to know the staff quite well because I know they had a story to tell. And I know that there's all different sides to the story. So I had to be able to find out what was really going on through multiple versions of the story. And it's really imperative because it's really hard to run a BDC inside of a dealership, never mind on the outside, which is why when I work with a dealer, I require myself to break bread with them, to go, to sit down, do an analysis, to understand their people, let them understand me, why I'm doing this, why I'm here, why they want me here. And once I do that, I look at the communication between the sales team, the BDC, and the management team. And usually it's broken somewhere. Usually they're not working in tandem with each other. Our good friend Joe Calla always says, Anthony, it's like a BDC, it's like a relay race. The BDC grabs the baton first. We're going to paint the picture of how awesome it is to do business with us and how we're here to streamline the process. And once you arrive, you're going to be in the hands of a sales professional. Well, what happens after they set the appointment? Is the management team aware of who's coming in the morning on the appointment board? Are the vehicles ready? Are they gassed up? Are they in transit still? Has the salesperson reached out to introduce themselves? When they get here, what happens when they get here? How are they passed off? Are they checked in properly? Do they get checked in a timely manner? Without good communication with one of my dealers, it could be really annoying if we're calling people who we think might have missed an appointment, if we're blowing up their phone and they're actually sitting with the salesperson. That means they didn't check them in a timely manner. And, we don't want to give them too much time after they missed their appointment because we all know that there's 7 to 10 other dealers out there competing for that same person. So the first thing I look at is the communication in the dealership between the departments. And I identify where the break in the communication is. And then I go immediately to work on fixing that relationship and painting the picture of how important and how interdependent the departments are on each other, right? They're interdependent on each other, right? We're here to feed you and you're here to close them down. Like we're the BDC, we're going to grab that information. We're going to talk to that person, hopefully answer all their questions, hopefully prep them for the sales professional to maximize the experience and their gross, right? Meaning, if somebody calls in and says, hey, Anthony, I'm 10,000 negative, and I want to try to lower my car payment, some people will just set the appointment. If somebody's 10,000 negative, they're not lowering their car payment, especially in today's economy. If they want to lower their car payment, there's a way. They're going to have to trade down, but we got to be able to prep them for that. I don't want to be like, yeah, you know what? We're going to be able to absorb that negative equity with our program, and we're going to be able to get the same car payment, because then that's just going to, what happens when they get here? They're just going to tear us apart, right? They're going to
congratulations, we saved you $1 a month.
Yeah. I'll give you $1. That used to be a joke around here. Do you give over KBB? Yeah, we sure do. $1 over KBB. We give over KBB. No.
Interesting communication, and I feel like communication standards, to your point, especially with cell phones and DMs and Messenger and all the different things, in an effort to streamline communication, we've actually dumbed down communication.
100%.
We what do the kids say? TMI, too much information.
Yep.
when my kids say TMI to me, I'm like, actually, you're barely giving me enough information still.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's because of, all these devices where we're used to speaking in bullet point form that communication really suffers. But I love that visual of a relay race. And I love some of the examples you brought up, which is, a couple of them that were really important to me. Has the salesperson introduce themselves? What did that pass off look like? The check-in process. It really changes the narrative for me of like BDC. I don't know what I think of when I think BDC. I think I think of headphones and a microphone, like call center.
Yeah.
But the things you're talking about, Anthony, it suggests to my mind a guest experience coordinator.
Yes. Yes. It's all about the customer experience. It's all about the customer experience. And we both noticed, and it's going to come up, right? It used to be a running joke. Matter of fact, it was in the intro of the last podcast because I just listened to our last podcast. But it's all about hospitality, right? Hospitality is something that you can't take a picture of, right? You can't take a picture of hospitality. Hospitality is how you make somebody feel. And if we want to change what people are going to do, we have to change how they feel about it first. And we already know how most people feel about buying a car and the process for buying a car. So if we're going to say the same things that they've been hearing, they're going to feel the same feelings that they've been feeling.
Yeah.
My job is to paint the picture of why I'm the best person in this whole equation of buying a car to be talking to you right now, and how I'm going to over deliver on your customer experience, which can lead me right into the second thing I think is the most important thing to focus on, which is your CRM tool, right? You got to make sure everybody in that dealership is required and not requested to use the CRM, because most places make it a request and not a requirement, when it should be a requirement and not a request. It's one of the most expensive tools that we pay for. It houses all the leads that they pay for. It houses all the interactions, or supposed to house all the interactions. And the point of a CRM, and if you've ever been to a fine dining or really upscale restaurant, and you probably have in New York City recently, right? All these places have CRM tools, and they collect information of who you came with, when you came, why you came, some of the conversation. Some of their waiters pay attention to the conversation, what you ate, how it was cooked, what you celebrated. Because the point of that is to collect the dots. We want to be collecting dots while we're on interacting with the guest, right? Whether it's in a hospitality environment or whether it's in a dealership environment trying to provide hospitality, we want to be collecting dots. We want to be asking questions and collecting information, because what we're going to do is we're going to use those dots and we're going to start to connect the dots for when we set them that appointment and they get here. We use those connections of the dots to create a feeling called hospitality. And then hospitality over delivers on their customer experience, and then they experience something they've never experienced before.
What's flowing through my mind right now is like, first thought is what would happen if dealerships, businesses en masse in the retail started thinking less like a retail business and more like they're in the hospitality business.
100%.
Which is like, because now I see the tie-in. Obviously, I know you come from hospitality and still do a lot of work in hospitality. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And then second point, to your point about the CRM tool being required, it's a requirement, not a request. I love. And your tie-in to the restaurant business. I had first of all had no clue that restaurants use CRMs. So that's new. This idea of connecting the dots, not that they're eavesdropping, but that they are observing and responding. 100%. And the mind-blowing moment for me is Disneyland. People don't know this, but Disneyland is a retail business. People think they're going to an amusement park. You are going to a shopping mall with rides. Every ride drops you off in a store, and somehow you're like, I'm so happy I spent $72 on cotton candy and a Lego figure. But here you have a character. You're inevitably going to run into a character at Disney, Snow White. And Snow White is not actually Snow White. She's a woman who probably lives in an apartment with 17 other Snow Whites because they can't afford to pay rent in Southern California.
Truth.
Who have all sorts of life issues, making their $28 an hour, $10 or whatever they get paid to be a character at Disney, who have so many things going on in their life. But somehow, to your point, there's training in place that when they put on the Snow White costume, they are somehow able to forget about their own circumstances and observe and proactively respond to the needs of the guests. And this is a tie-in for me, Anthony, what you said earlier, which is the salesperson pass off, the check-in process, what happens once they arrive at the store, what are we proactively paying attention to? How are we communicating the things that we're observing? Like it all ties together for me.
100%. And the best thing about Disney is they have the best training out there, because if you walk up to one of those characters, you can't make them break character. No matter what kind of day they're having, they're not going to break character. And just the same should happen in any type of business. No matter what kind of day you have, you should not be breaking character, because for instance, the gym I go to, we love our gym. We've been a little disappointed with some of the things that's been happening lately, and I had a conversation with them. I said, listen, it's all about how you make people feel. They had a new Lifetime gym open up around the corner, which is a big country club type of gym, and they were losing guests. And I'm like, the way you stop that is with hospitality, because I said, for instance, the example I gave is my wife used to get upset when I worked out so much, because she wasn't a gym goer every day. And especially when I did 75 hard, it takes a lot of time out of your schedule, and I'm running at all types of hours of the day, and I'm away from her and the family, and she would get frustrated. And I remember about 2 years ago, we were working at a gym called Jersey Strong, which I still belong to, unfortunately. I didn't get rid of my membership. And she decided to try to sign us up for Planet Fitness because it was cheaper. And my wife is Indian. She's frugal by nature, right? So she tried to sign me up for this gym. I said, nope, keep me at my own gym. You do the $12.99 and see if you like it. Well, she quit that gym within 2 days because they didn't have classes. She's the type of girl that needs to go to a class and be involved with other people.
Right.
Then she went to some kind of event where she ran into somebody who was from the gym, and they were networking, and said, come sign up for the gym. The gym was $200 and something a month that we go to, but because of our health insurance and because she's a nurse, we're able to get it down to like $140 or something like that, which was still 7 times what we were paying at our last gym. And she wasn't going to that. And I said, you're really going to sign up for this? She said, yes. They have childcare. The gym is immaculate clean. They have steam rooms. She got me to sign up. I fell in love with it. She fell in love with it. To make a long story short, since she signed up, she's been going to the gym 6 to 7 days a week. She goes at 5 o'clock in the morning now. She has a morning crew of other gym members who they keep each other accountable. And when I was having a conversation trying to tell the owner of the gym the other day that my wife was upset that she referred people and she didn't get her free month and yada, yada, yada. And I said, listen, there's a lot of good things about this gym right now. I looked at your reviews. You haven't had a review in 6 months. Here's a story about my wife. I told the same exact story. There's a lot of us stories like this. I said, we just went to a barbecue with one of the other gym members that we met here because they're like family to us. Those stories need to be told. Everyone's telling those stories. This is a people business. No matter what we do, it's a people business. Yeah, we're going to have artificial intelligence help us, but at the end of the day, it's about people.
And they could have been observing this. And to your point number 2, they could have been submitting all of this information to the CRM.
100%.
So that they're aware of it, that they're aware that it's happening. But because they're not utilizing their CRM tool properly, they're not paying attention. Like there's no mechanism in place to suggest, hey, pay attention, observe.
Yeah,
look at what's going on.
It's either you're going to give them an experience or you're going to give them a customized experience. Right? They're going to need experience. I'd just rather give them a customized one to them.
It's interesting. I've never actually, what that suggests to my mind is pretty powerful. Everyone is going to, we talk about improving the customer experience, but it's like everyone will actually have an experience. Not everyone will have a customized experience.
100%. Everybody. Yep. That's exactly right. Think about it, like when you go to a regular restaurant and you say, thank you. What do they usually say? You're welcome. You go to a fine dining restaurant and you say, thank you. My pleasure. Just that my pleasure alone makes you feel different, right? Just pleasure alone. Or if they know your name when you walk up.
There's the book Unreasonable Hospitality. Will Guidara, he owned 11 Madison Avenue Drive restaurant. I don't know which one it is, Drive or Avenue. It's New York. It's probably Avenue.
Yep, absolutely.
He talks about how when patrons were finishing their meal, is that what we call them? Patrons, matron? I don't know what we call them.
Patrons, yep.
The maitre d' or the host or hostess would put a wine glass in front of everybody at the table, pour a little bit of wine in each glass, and then as they were placing the bottle on the table would say, "We're so delighted that of all the places you could have chosen, you chose 11 Madison Avenue. Please enjoy this bottle on us." And he said like 99% of the time, they would only drink what was in their cup. They would never take more alcohol than that, no more wine than that. But it was that little piece of hospitality that made it a customized experience for people. And I've thought about it ever since I heard that story. Like, what could our version of the wine and wine glass be in? Like, what's the automotive version of that? And I think some of those points you've already brought up. So that's super powerful. Okay, so we've got quick recap. We've got check in on the communication process, how effective it is between BDC sales and leadership. We've talked about hospitality. We've now talked about the CRM tool and being proactively engaged, logging observant information that could create a customized experience for our guests. If there's one more thing that you would suggest to the playbook listeners, what would it be?
I would probably have to say, it's kind of between two, but I'm going to say benchmarks and accountability. I feel like there's not a lot of BDCs or even sales teams that hold themselves accountable to having daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly benchmarks. Like, we're in this. You got to play the long game, but you also got to play the short game, right? You got to bring your putter, you got to bring your driver and your irons to this game,
right?
And, not every deal gets closed today, and it's about making sure that we have the right amount of activity. So there's some methodologies out there that a lot of people don't believe in calling first anymore. That you should just text everybody. I'm not one of those believers. I'm one of those believers that you should be calling and texting simultaneously at the same time. If I'm going to text somebody, I should be calling them at the same time, because you could do both at the same time. The way I give the analogy is that there's three lakes to be fishing in every day in BDC. You got to bring 3 fishing poles, and you're going to go down to 3 lakes. One is the telephone lake, one's the text message lake, and one's the email lake. And we already know that the email lake don't have many fish stocked, right? Not many fish in the email lake, but there's still fish. Some people prefer just to talk by email, a very small percentage. So we still got to troll that lake. But the text stream lake is very active. But the problem with texting all the time is people get caught up and rely on texting, and most of the people don't take the text to the phone call. The idea is to get the text to get onto the phone. The science of communication, right? 55% of our communication skills is body language or visual perception, which you lose over the phone. 38% of our skills is tonality and how we use our tonality. Only 7% of our skills are the words or the text that we use, right? So, and at the end of a phone call, they're going to forget 50% of everything that you said. So you got to be really effective with your communication, and 80% of people are going to form an opinion from your tone of voice. So it's not necessarily what we're saying, but more importantly, how we're saying it, right? For instance, the way I changed my tonality on the phone is like, "Hi, this is Anthony calling from ABC Motors. I'm calling about your 2017 GMC Sierra 1500. We received your information from Kelley Blue Book. Looks like you got great low mileage on that. We called that a retail-ready vehicle. Good news for you is that we can offer above market on that. I just need 25 minutes of your time. We're here 9 to 6 today and 9 to 8 tomorrow. My number is 555-1212. Contact me at your availability, at your convenience," right? I try to change my tonality. And that's very important, but most people don't have the benchmarks in place every day, or don't hold their teams accountable every day to hit a certain number. Like the big number is 100 phone calls. Yeah, I think 100 phone calls is very easy. It's 12 calls an hour. If you can't make 12 calls an hour and your only job is to make phone calls, text messages, and email, this may not be the job for you. And listen, you could do 12 an hour, or you could do under 12 an hour, like most people do under 12 phone calls an hour. but there's a 10 to 15% chance you get somebody on the phone. So that means you got to make 10 to 15 phone calls before you get somebody to pick up the phone. That means out of those 100 phone calls, you're lucky to have 10 to 15 conversations. Yeah. When you get them on the phone, do you have a strategy? Are you going to play chess with your words? Do you already know what you're going to say no matter what the scenario is? Like, one of the things I say in the beginning of the phone call, and probably this is my biggest tip for everybody out there, I'll give you 2 more tips, which is going to help you with your BDC. Number 1, identify yourself on the phone, right? If I'm in the BDC, I need to tell them I'm not a salesperson, because Michael, if I call you from ABC Motors and I have a conversation about the 2017 Audi that you want to buy for 15 minutes, but I never tell you what my job is, you're going to think I'm a sales professional trying to sell you.
Right.
I need to tell you in the beginning of the phone call, Michael, my name is Anthony. I'm actually not a sales professional. I'm one of the client care managers here to streamline the process. And when you're ready, I'm going to set you up with one of our sales professionals. The idea is we don't want to waste your time. We want to make sure that we over deliver on your experience. Does that sound fair to you?
Right.
Yeah. So we want to
first close.
Set that expectation. It lowers their guard. It's like going to the mall, and it's like when they ask you, can I help you? They say, no, I'm just looking. It's a defensive mechanism. We got to shut those off before we even start our conversation. So when I get on the phone, I'm not looking to set an appointment. I'm looking to create a relationship. And my second goal is to get them to stop shopping your competition, right? I don't need to set the appointment today. And as a matter of fact, I'll do what most other people don't do. I'll set an appointment a month out if I have to, because I know if I set that appointment out a month out, I'm doing it because I've already known I'm going to get them to stop shopping my competition because I've won them over with my personality. And I'm going to put them on a follow-up plan every 3 or 4 days to stay in conversation and collect more dots along the way. And then my last piece of advice is when you go to confirm your appointments, get obsessed with confirming your appointments, but give people an out. So what I do is I send a text message, I do an email, and I do a phone call. But in the text message, it says, hey, Michael, Anthony from ABC Motors, with a reminder for your appointment tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The address is 55 Broad Street, USA, New Jersey, Please respond Y to confirm, R to reschedule, or N to cancel. Because I need to give them an option to either reschedule or cancel, because if you don't, they will just ghost you. And there's a difference between a no-show and a missed appointment. A missed appointment is somebody says, yeah, I'm coming, and you try to confirm and they tell you yes, or they don't even answer and they just don't show up. A cancel is when you say, hey, Michael, I'm calling to see if you can still make your appointment today. And you say, Anthony, I can't. My kids are in school. Can we reschedule? Or can you give me a call back tomorrow? That's a cancel. And that's different than a no-show.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And you got to give people the option to get out of it, because at the end of the day, it's about their buying experience, not your selling experience.
Okay. It's about their buying experience, not your selling experience. Oh,
how you doing?
Right at the end there. Boom. Listen, I took a buttload of notes. Good. Somebody try and attach or quantify the number of buttload. That's amazing. I want to talk real briefly as we wind down. Tell me a little bit about, you've got an event coming up. Tell me about it. Where can people go and register? And then, lastly, before we wind down, how can people connect with you?
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me first and foremost. I appreciate it. It was awesome to talk. I am doing an event. It's called By Appointment Only, Volume 2. It's called Summer Sessions, and it's in a one-day all BDC immersion. So I'm bringing all the top BDC experts and strategists together to get on stage and give their version of how they feel BDC should be done. Because listen, 2 + 2 is not the only way to get to 4. My way is not the only way. I want to give a bunch of different paradigms. It's going to be on Tuesday, August 6th from 8:30 in the morning to 6 p.m. at night at an iconic building called Bellworks in New Jersey. And on August 5th, that Monday, the day before, we're going to host a VIP networking party called Sip, Sample, Socialize. And it's going to have all my presenters and my vendors and all my sponsors together for all the people coming in. It's going to be full open bar and food, and it's going to be on a rooftop bar on the Jersey Shore. And I promise you're going to experience unreasonable hospitality. I promise you that.
I love it. I love it. Super pumped about it. I went to your inaugural event. It was amazing. I can only imagine you're going to be up in the ante on this one. Anthony, man, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook.
Appreciate you, brother. Be well.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Dealer Playbook Podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please subscribe, share, and hit that like button. You can also join us and the DPB community on social media. Check back next week for a new Dealer Playbook episode. Thanks so much for joining.